Hello and welcome to another edition of the Osceola Seminole Sidelines Postgame Show. My name is Pat Burnham, and I am joined tonight by former FSU offensive lineman and college football coach, and Osceola recruiting analyst Mark Salva. So again, you can finish that, and then Osceola recruiting analyst Mark Charles Fitzstein. All right, guys, bad night for Florida State. Flew out to Dallas and went to SMU and really just got destroyed, guys. There's no other way to look at this. Florida State gave up 467 total yards, 213 on the ground. FSU, again, continues to be anemic, inefficient, and just bad on offense. 297 total yards, including 75 rushing yards, and then, of course, 222 passing yards, 20 of 34, 12 of 34 passing. Um, Guys, it was bad all the way around. The team did not show up tonight, did not show up today. Undisciplined, did not look very well coached. All kind of penalties, either extended drives or led to scores. Just a really bad day, Mark, and not a whole lot of positive to get out of this, if any, other than Alex Mastromano is fun to watch punt. I never thought I'd say that, but he has quickly turned into the best player on his football team, and it's not even close.
Not even close.
Couldn't block, couldn't tackle, didn't want to stop the run, couldn't run. SMU clearly was the more motivated team in this game. Clearly was the most prepared team outside of a fumbled punt and a bad snap that got FSU 2 points. Really, it wasn't a whole lot to this for mistakes from SMU in this game. And Mark, I'll let you start, and then we'll go to Fish.
Well, I would laugh if I wasn't too busy crying. I mean, that was that. There's no other way to put it. It was just an absolute butt kicking. Um, you know, I'm having a hard time reconciling some things. Like, how can a team, how can a guy who has done so much in these last 2 years and even just rebuilt this program to where I mean we were should have been in the playoff last year. All of a sudden, roll out a group out there that has no clue what's happening, has no is ill prepared. They're not very well drilled. Um, you know, the personnel they don't look like a motivated bunch at all.
Nope, not at all.
Um, and it's just I mean it's just a bad football team. We've regressed to the point where we're doing things that bad football teams do, obviously, and we're struggling with average teams, not even average teams. I mean, you can see Georgia Tech, Boston College,
Yep.
Memphis. I mean, these are teams that they're middle of the road at best, and we're fighting for our lives and losing to these teams. I just don't know what to say. I mean, we're a bad football team, and my first thought is, defensively, Adam Fuller has been found. I mean, the book's out on him, right? We do the
Yep.
same thing over and over. I mean, we're so vanilla in terms of what we present in offense. We present zero problems defensively, and we line up the same way. We play the same coverages. We have once in a while we'll throw blitzing, but not very often. And people can predict matchups, can get mismatches all across the field. The guys running wide open. I mean, we present no problems on defense. You know, um,
Well,
Outside of individual efforts by individual players, as a group, we don't present any problems. And then offensively, it's just anemic. I mean, we can't execute anything. Not in the running game, not in the passing game. I mean, far from the quarterback. I mean, the things GJ was hitting early on, those things have been there all year. All year they've been there, and he hit a few, and they look nice. And then Morlock does what he does. We drop balls, and then I mean, blitzers come, and we have no clue how to pick them up or who's hot or we have no answer for any blitz. I mean, they put guys in the box, they pull them out, blitz from the outside, and our guys have no idea how to handle that. Zero preparation. And I'm like, I just again I can't reconcile this performance in this team with what I saw the previous 3 years or so.
Yeah.
I just can't, and I'm baffled.
Yep. Fish, what about you, man? I mean, it's hard to watch as I go. If I look at my notes, I mean, I've got multiple things down to talk about, but I look at Mark, you mentioned the knowing the playbook. You sent me a text after they scored their 21st point where they came out and had a unit tight end, and they flared 82 out and lined him as the number one wide receiver to the boundary because they knew they were going to get a linebacker man on man on him and throw it right. He runs right by number 20, Blake Nicholson. You come out and they kick off, and for whatever reason, instead of taking the ball to 25, brings it out, gets tackled on the 9, doesn't bring it up straight upfield, tries to get to the perimeter, gets tackled. The personal foul on the next drive when SMU got the ball, the personal foul on Hussey, who made a soft as puppy piss tackle and then pushes a guy out of bounds. Why didn't he hit the? I mean, it's just what bad football teams do. This is a unbelievably bad football team. And listen, I agree with you. This is an unprepared football team. This is an unmotivated football team, and this is all of Mike Norvell. Fish.
Yeah, the reason why you guys don't recognize this team because it's not the same team it was last year, and they brought in a lot of new parts, and those parts are not very good parts. They went through the scrap heap, and they tried to fix the car, and the car, basically everything fell apart on the car. So I think there's this misconception that there's one, that this team's talented, and two, that it was ever a good football team. This is not the last 2 years, and it's just
no. But Fish, they have no clue. I mean, they are not a prepared football team.
There's no question. But Mark, and this is where I've gotten in arguments with everybody with the portal. I felt this is my biggest fear, is that when you have nothing to play for, or you start to get this mentality. It happened in the bowl game. Guys that had no business opting out of the bowl game, that it was accepted. And once you accept that, I don't think you could turn back. I think those players, until they're washed out of the system, are always going to sit there and go, well, you know what? Basically, everybody quit, from the program to the kids. They quit instead of going out there and playing for something, which they had an undefeated season to play for. And I hate to go back, but I still think those problems all started the moment, forget the snub. I think a lot of those kids quit the program, and a lot of those guys are still on the team, and it's a sad thing. I've never seen Florida State this bad. I'm going to be honest. I mean, even with the Taggart teams, this is about as bad as it gets. And listen, I still have a ton of faith in Coach Norvell. All right. I don't believe the last 2 years were flukes. I don't think it was just Jordan Travis. That was a great team last year. You saw it in the first game. This is not a good team. And they went after a lot of guys that were not starting or playing for these other teams. They actually were guys that either people got rid of because they cut them, or the kids quit. And that's what you got playing out there right now. And it starts, and listen, I hate to sit there and blame one guy, but it starts and ends with the one position, the quarterback position, and we could sit there and go, guys aren't making plays around them. Listen,
they're not.
I hate to say it. You go down south and you look at Cam Ward, and even when he makes mistakes, the other guys around him pick him up because they know he's going to make plays, and they don't want to let him down. It doesn't seem like anybody gives what DJ does when he's in there.
That's the problem, though, because I can't understand why anybody would go out there and not just want to compete.
I mean, Landon
I
Thomas.
I don't care how good or bad you are. But even though we picked up these kids who, if they're throwaways or whatever, and those are the kids that we got, I can't relate to somebody going out there and not wanting to actually compete and do the things it takes to be successful. I don't care how good or bad you are. I mean, those guys that left those other programs, this should have been a new opportunity for them to prove themselves in a situation that was is very favorable for them, and so there's got to be motivation there somewhere for that. Look, it's the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. All of this is probably true. But
Mark, I'm gonna jump in. All right, I know one of the kids personally that transferred to Florida State. I know the kid's dad. All right, and everything he did was make excuses of why he didn't play at that other program. I'm not going to name the kid. I'm not going to throw the dad under the bus, but I'm telling you, the kid's the same lame football player at Florida State that he was at this other program. And that's the problem, is a lot of these kids think they're really better than they are.
Yeah. I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle.
And I think you can't keep rewarding guys for screwing up. How many drop passes does Brian Courtney have to have before you say, all right, enough's enough? Because if you allow it with him, then you're okay with it, and you're going to accept it with other people. And then it's contagious. Listen, 100%. Landon Thomas has already shown me enough this year that he's a better player than any other tight end on the roster. Like 100%. He's a better athlete. He's got better. He adjusts better to the football. He's got better body control. He just looks like a football player. Courtney, I hate to say it, he's the second worst player that they brought in outside of DJ, because he either misses blocks or he drops the ball, and those stuff.
You are not wrong. You are not wrong. I remember, back in the day, and of course I'm always. This is from my experience. If you did not perform, if you dropped the pass, if you missed a block, you were yanked out of the game.
Yep.
You fumbled the ball, you were yanked out of the game. You didn't play anymore. Until maybe.
How about fumble? You fumbled. You were guaranteed to not coming back.
100%. You missed a tackle. Well, you were yanked out of the game. Yeah. And so I agree with you. I think some of these things are allowed to happen, and guys are allowed to keep on playing, and that is part of the problem.
I was disappointed, particularly disappointed in the defensive effort. Listen, they should have come into this game with some momentum after playing well against Cal, holding them to 9 points, and if they make the 2 field goals, it's a different story. But this defense knew that they had to put this team on its back. We knew the offense was going to be what it is. I mean, it's ugly. You got one guy that's a playmaker on your offense, and that's Lawrence Toafili. He's the only guy. He's the only guy you got. But the defensive line knew they had to carry the defensive front seven, and they come in and they get gashed. And listen, I've watched all these offensive lines that Florida State has played against, and this was not the best one they played against. Right. And they get road graded. I mean, it's a mindset, it's a mentality, and listen, that defensive front and front seven could have played as well against SMU as it did Cal. It didn't show up.
All right, but Pat, let's be honest. Leopards don't change their spots. These are the same guys we saw in week 1 that did it, that played exactly like they played in week 2. Like that was an outlier against Cal. What we've seen in week 1, week 2, and now this is the defense that you have. You have talent in individuals, but you don't have a team. That you're going to get individual performances that flash, but you're going to get a lot of bad tackling, a lot of bad plays, a lot of dumb mistakes. And listen, I think Hussey's going to be very good, but those type of things, that's been happening since game 1. You saw Ferguson get that stupid penalty in a game, and did he get benched? Did he have to sit out a quarter? Did anything happen? Was he disciplined where you said, you know what, you hurt the team, you put yourself before the team, and what do you think is going to happen? I don't blame Hussey because they never dealt with this situation earlier in the year. All right?
Listen, I blame the kid. You don't try to tackle the guy very hard and when he's inbounds, and you want to be a tough guy out of bounds. I 100% blame the kid, and I blame the coach for allowing that to happen. I mean, you should have jerked him out of the game then. And I hate calling kids out, but you go back and watch the lack of physicality on that tackle. Then he's going to be a tough guy after the play is over. That's the stuff cowards do.
But that comes from coaches have to get that out of the system. That's on the coaches on that defensive staff. And like I said, yes. I'm not. You know me, Pat. I'm one that I truly believe talent's more important than coaching, but this team does need some leadership from the guys that are getting paid a lot of money. And I really am not one that likes to really hammer coaches, because a lot of times wins or losses, it comes from personnel. But this team is not a team. It's a bunch of individuals.
You're exactly right. We got somebody put it earlier, and I was thinking of the same word when I was thinking about how we're going to talk about this team. What adjective would I use to describe it? And it was disjointed was one of the comments we got. And it is disjointed. It's like 22 guys doing their own thing. And listen, the coaching decisions are baffling. I mean, go back to the fourth down when you run it with DJU, and you and Mark pointed out, if you're going to run DJU, Toafili should not be your lead blocker. If you got Toafili in the backfield, give the ball to him, or get Cam Davis in the game to be the lead blocker for DJU. But what the hell are we doing running that guy? I mean, we know he doesn't run hard. Yeah. He doesn't run like a 250-pound guy. And you got a fourth down situation, and he gets brought down by a guy that's 5'10", 185. You know why? Because that kid wanted to make a play, and DJU didn't.
I hate to say it, they should take DJ Lundy and move him to H-back or fullback, get him in there, and let him block somebody, because he can't tackle well in space. I'd rather just line him up. If you're going to run ISO or you're going to run some power runs, have him, because I do think DJ's a physical guy, but you used to see that.
These are all problems things we're talking about that really mess what's really wrong. What's really wrong is this whole team right now, this whole culture is just in the crapper.
But how did it get there?
That's my whole thing. I'm like, how did this happen? How could this happen so fast?
I think that Fish is on to something, and I wrote about it a couple of weeks ago. I think that Fish is exactly right. When we started seeing the foundation of this program come apart when those kids quit last year, I 100% agree with Fish. Nobody wants to hear it. Yeah. They wanted, it's all right for those kids to quit. They got screwed by the bowl committee, whatever. But when you have kids that could have bettered their own personal standing either with the NFL or with a portal situation or playing for next year, they choose not to play, that speaks to me, that says a lot about what's going on inside your program. And there are certain kids that you can say, maybe he shouldn't have played Jared Verse or Trey Benson, any of the guys that were.
Listen, the only one that
I think that's what. Listen, this program's been mired in whatever ever since December of 10th or whatever day it was last year, and I don't think there's any. I didn't think this team was going to come out and be motivated because of last year, because there's 40 new faces, but there is something that stinks right now. You can't put your hand. It's everything. I mean, this is supposed to be the best offensive line that Florida State's had since Mike's been here. It has underperformed 1,000%. I mean, they can't block anybody. 75 yards rushing against this defense. You can't stop the pass against this. You couldn't pass the ball effectively. This is one of the worst passing defenses in the ACC coming into this game. You complete 35% of your passes, and the only pass that you really are completing is the little RPO glance thing, slant, whatever you want to call it. They found one play that worked on offense. One.
I hate to say it. You literally have a quarterback that I think you could call maybe 2 or 3 plays for and be successful. I honestly think he destroys the whole offensive playbook. I hate to say it. And God bless you on Tuesday, because I think JP is going to tell you the same thing. That they have to move on from him. I'm sorry. He got paid. I think that's where it starts. I want to see you're playing for next year in 2026. Everybody else, you have them walk into your office on Monday morning, and you tell Mike needs to tell these guys, listen, you guys don't want to be here. Hey, I'll go into the rest of the season with 50 guys. Here's 20, walk out that door and cut them loose, because you got to make a statement. You cannot allow this to bleed into next year and the year after.
I think. Go ahead, Fish.
No, I just think it's something you got to deal with right now. I think that you
got
to take this thing head on. Because
well,
you know what?
my issue is I think he waited too long to be doing it. Like, all right, this should have been done before the fourth quarter when he started pulling Kyle Marlock out and putting Landon Thomas in, and got some of the other young guys in. I mean, this should have been going on well before this.
Listen, Pat, and I'm just saying this, and you guys see this, and I don't look at the yardage that Cam Davis gets, but one thing is, every time he's in, he runs hard. I know, like it's
tonight.
What? I don't know where he was. I didn't see him in the game at all.
I saw him once.
Yeah, a couple times.
And you saw with Landon Thomas, the kid looks different. Like I've been preaching for Makai Danzy because I just think he's electric. He's a guy that literally could jumpstart an offense with one play because he's a guy that could catch a 5 or 10 yard hitch or a wheel route and go the distance. They need playmakers. On offense too. I mean, it just seems like it starts at the quarterback position, but it ain't just him. It just seems like they have a lot of guys that just can't break tackles.
Well,
they just, I don't know. It's
bottom line is Mike's got to have some managerial courage, to use a corporate word. He's got to have some managerial courage. He's got some hard decisions to make in the coming weeks and at the end of the season. Because talent acquisition has got to get better, recruiting and portal, right? Yep. That's got to get better, and there are people who, I just don't think it's a point of emphasis for a lot of these coaches. It's just not. And the other thing is he's going to have to make some personnel decisions for this current team. You said it, Fish. This season's done.
It's done.
We are now playing for 2025, and you best get these guys ready. Because it honestly it can't get any worse. It just can't. And he's got some hard decisions to make. It's gonna be really telling to see where he is in all this. And look, Mike is a relationship guy. I get it. And this is gonna be hard for him to have to make some decisions. But it's for the sake of the program, he's got to do it.
He makes $10 million a year to make.
Of course, yeah. That's what I'm saying.
What's clear is whatever is going on inside that building, these coaches are not reaching these players, and that is their job. Yeah. I mean, it's to find a way to reach those guys, and they're not. I mean, on any level. I mean, the defensive line comes out after having a great week last week and a shell of what they were. Go back to this. This is a guy that's a quarterback that's starting his second game. We talk about the secondary playing well last year, kind of bend but don't break. This kid was 16 of 23, and he had a couple of those were throwaways for 254. I mean. The problem I have is that whatever message these coaches are sending to these kids, they're either not receiving it or don't want to receive it.
Well, I said that a couple of weeks ago. I said that after the Memphis game. You got to examine everything that you're doing. You got to examine every drill that you do. You got to examine the language you use, the methods you use, because it's not getting to the players, and they're not executing. They have no clue. And I mean, I'm out of words. I don't know what else to say.
No, this is one of those losses that honestly, if the last 2 years didn't happen, we'd have a new coach on Monday. And I like I said before, I believe in Coach Norvell.
I do too.
When they hired him, I had question marks. Pat knows I wanted guys like PJ or James Franklin or these guys that have recruited South Florida. That was my biggest concern when they hired him was the South Florida recruiting. But the last 2 years have been special. Florida State was one of the top teams in the country. And for that, I believe he deserves a chance to fix this thing. But there's these issues. The good thing is you can turn it around in 1 year. You don't need 3 to 4 years. I believe there are pieces in that locker room you could build around. Maybe you don't see it right now, but I do believe that Cam Davis is you know why I like Cam Davis, and I'm going to be a fan of his? This is a kid that committed for 2 years, never took visits. He stayed loyal to Florida State. I think that means something. I think when you recruit these guys and you go and they're going to a new high school every year in high school, what do you think is going to happen when stuff gets tough? They're going to quit. I just think you got to recruit a certain type of kid. He's got to reboot after this season, but it starts now. Landon Thomas is my starting tight end in the next game. He showed me enough to sit there and go, all right, Courtney, if he wants to transfer out and play somewhere next year, hey, listen, good luck. Or not Courtney, Morlock, or any of these guys that that they
he's
feel
a senior
like
anyway, so he's done after this year.
Well, you know what? He could go play semi-pro ball. There's the Magic City Bulls down here, but honestly, some of these guys need to be pushed aside, and they need to go with guys that they recruited. I think that there's some guys on that team, the Quindarius Jones kid. They got Edwin Joseph. They got these guys like, and there's young guys on the offensive line that should get. I thought the whole line just.
Listen, I don't understand why Jalen Early was not playing in place of Jeremiah Byers. We talked about that earlier in the week. He should have been playing, and then Jeremiah Byers rolls out there. I think 2 holding calls, a false start. This is a 5th-year senior. Listen, they got a penalty. You mentioned it. We were watching. We were on our little text thread, and Brock completed a pass, a little wide receiver screen, and sure enough, it gets called back. I mean, but he had 3 penalties of his own. You can't do that. I mean, this. And listen, we said it last week. As far as offense, this is who they are. 16 points again, 1 game out of the 20s. And it's not getting ready to get easier, guys. It's going to get worse. Yeah, I mean, you got Clemson coming in here next week, and I think right now you got to figure out, well, is Dabo going to come in and be efficient about the ass meeting and get out of here with the 35-3 win, or is he going to come in here and make a point and roll it up?
Dabo's going to try to end Florida State next week. Period.
Absolutely.
And you know what? His little charm and nice deep down, that guy's an assassin. All right, and that's how you are when you're a coach. You're an assassin. You're going to try to finish them off because listen, they're going to go head to head in recruiting with guys, and he's going to try to make a point. He's going to make a statement next week.
100%.
I mean, that could be a 60, 70-point game if Florida State's not careful.
Yeah, listen, I had this conversation today talking about after this game, if they could get this one, then Clemson's going to be difficult. Got a chance at Duke. I don't know if they have a chance at Duke now. Duke's 5-0, and what little I saw they came back from a 20-point deficit. They showed some grit and character against North Carolina today. Not that requires a lot, but then you got Miami at Miami. You're at Duke at Miami. Then you come back and play UNC. UNC may have very well thrown in the towel by then, but then you go to Notre Dame, Charleston Southern at home, Florida at home. Listen, you can pencil 5 and 7 in right now at the very best, and that's if you somehow figure out a way to beat Duke, North Carolina, Charleston Southern, and Florida. And hey, I'm gonna tell you what, I don't think they're beating Florida at this point.
Florida. Listen, I watched Florida last week. They execute at least. They're not good. They're not a good football team, but they execute actual plays. They can execute those screens that Florida State gets holding calls almost every time they run it. So,
dude, who can we beat?
I don't believe. Honestly,
Charleston Southern. Let's give it.
I think that this is a 2-3 win team, and I'm shocked and disgusted to say that because honestly, this team's defeated. It's a defeated team. Like I said, this is a major reset. Right now, you've got, I don't know how many games they got left, but this is like how many bowl practices. When they talk about bowl practices, this is to get ready for the next 2 years. You're going to find out who wants to be out there. Like I said, there needs to be a few kids showing the door on Monday. Honestly, I would not be nice because you've got to set an example. This is unacceptable. This is not. Well, I've said this a million times. The guys that have put on that helmet and put that uniform on, they're doing every one of those guys wrong that put it on before them. And honestly, they don't deserve to wear that uniform. Florida State shouldn't even have a spear on the side, to be honest.
And here's my concern, Fish. And listen, the portal does give you a chance to maybe get right quicker than you would in the old days. But you start breaking down this roster for next year, what you've done. There is no easy answer to get this thing right. But if you start breaking down the roster, you've done it. You've seen the roster. You've talked about the kids that have left. This is going to be an ongoing issue. I mean, this team is not going to. It's going to take him a couple of seasons to get this rectified.
Pat, I hate to say it, they've put themselves on probation because I brought up the numbers. If they go to 105, how are they getting there? with the guys committed right now, they have 75, and that's with every underclassman coming back. They have 75 guys that are going to be on that team next year. To get to 105, you need 35 other guys. Where are those guys coming from? They're coming from the portal. So basically, I don't believe you can look at it like that. You got to sit there and go, all right, well, we got to get to 95 this year or 90. We got to get to 95 the following year. They're not going to get to 105 next year. You could forget about
you know what? I was having this conversation. I was frustrated like you guys were, and somebody looked at me and said, he goes, Pat, this is the same staff outside of one guy that got beat by Jacksonville State 3 years ago, that got outcoached by Jacksonville State. And it's the same outside of Marcus Woodson. It's the same exact staff. Almost everybody else is still here. So, I think right now what they've got to decide, I don't think this guy's asking, does he stay here after a 2-10 year? They can't fire Mike. They owe 65.
Dude, people got to get over it. Listen,
they're not fired. I don't care what JP says.
No.
And the media rights, Florida State will always draw eyeballs, but there's no way they're firing Mike Norvell.
Listen, it's stupid to even think of it. Like, he doesn't deserve to be fired. They went 13-0 last year. They won 10 games a year before. That wasn't an accident. He took the team from a complete mess and got it back. Yeah, listen, it's his fault that they got here. But you know what? He has the right to get this team back, and let's see what he does. You don't know. Maybe a coach does get let go between now and tomorrow or the next day. You don't.
No,
we don't know.
I don't.
Yeah, you can say that, but we don't know. We don't know what he's going to do.
I don't think that would just make an already ugly situation even messier. I don't think you want to do that. I think that
I'm not saying you want to do it. I'm just saying I don't think it's out of the question. I don't think it's out of the question that it happens. All right, well.
I don't see that. I don't see that happening. Now, listen, if this continues, we all know what's going to happen at the end of this year. If it's a 4-8 type of year, there's going to be changes, which you hate to see happen. But this is an epic fail. This is an epic fail. I mean, you've gone from going 13-1, to going 1-4, and you've got several losses coming. This is Florida State. People that are being asked for money to give to Battles In and to give to the Booster Club and give season tickets. I mean, this isn't the guys that were asked to give to get Mike to $10 million a year and get Adam Fuller to $1 million a year and Alex Atkins to $1 million a year. You got nothing in return for your long-term investment in this staff. The immediate returns on that investment you're going backwards in a hurry. But they're tied into Mike for at least a couple of years. But he looks as lost as a damn player. You go back and look at that screenshot that they got on ESPN last week after Florida State scored against Cal, and you can tell the look on his face. That man knows that they dodged a bullet in that game. And I don't think he has the answers, and I'm not sure he's getting enough help.
Well, look, he's not a dummy, all right. He knows something's up. We're in the middle of the season. You got to play it out, with what you got, because nothing's going to change right now. But so the short term right now is
keeping that locker room together as you can.
Well.
If you can.
I agree with Fish. You've got to invest in guys that are bought into the program and go to battle with those guys, whoever they are. And you got to go down every game, and you got to hold coaches accountable, and you've got to do the best you can do. I mean, look, he's not without blame here in terms of his play calling. I mean, that fourth down, that goal line sequence was abysmal.
Yeah, it was
right.
Ridiculous.
That was abysmal, and.
And then the damn timeout on 4th or 3rd and 1.
Yeah,
you call the timeout because you're trying to be too cute and do the muddle huddle, rush huddle, and get to the line. They know what the hell you're going to do. Why does it matter where the 25-second play clock is at?
What makes me the most mad is that I had to sit here and watch this, and I missed that Georgia Alabama game. That makes me the most mad.
Well,
I taped it. And it's going to be a long night of Alabama, Georgia.
Yeah. I mean,
I know who won.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that. But yeah, listen, I thought Florida State had to play a certain way to have a chance to win this ball game, and they had to repeat exactly what they did last week because the offense. I said it 3 weeks ago. I don't see a cure for what ails this offense on this roster. There's not a play. Listen, you can't do anything when your offensive line is playing like these guys are playing, and they need to continue to play Andre Otto, who got in tonight. They need to play Jalen Early over Jeremiah Byers. Darius, I don't know how he played tonight. I have to go back and watch the film, but you've got to start getting these young guys. Like, I agree with you, Fish. You got to go to Landon Thomas, at least get him reps. We saw Amari Williams. Unfortunately, dropped the pass.
I don't want to hear that Armella is worse than these guys anymore. I'm tired. I know one thing, all right? When Armella was in high school, somebody tried him. He kicked the shit out of him. Nobody on this team, do I believe, could kick the shit out of anybody on that O-line. So I know he's the one guy that if we got in a street fight, I'd want him on my back. Put him out there. Let's see what we got. All right.
He is a tough kid, but yeah, listen, we'll see. I mean,
I want tough kids. I want tough kids.
To lose.
Yeah, I want a tough kid out there. I don't want somebody that maybe does everything right in practice, but the game comes on, he can't do a darn thing. Let's put him out there and see what he could do.
Yeah, and listen, and James, you're right. The personal foul on the punt was ridiculous. You're grabbing a guy by the face mask and pulling him down. As soon as you touch that face mask, you let go. Listen, there were all kind of stupid penalties. Going back to the 4th and 2, why wouldn't you kick in a tight? Which you got to hope you stay in a tight game instead of making it 14-10. Going into halftime, get the ball back. You got lucky and got two of those points back with that unbelievably bad snap. I don't know what that kid was thinking.
If I have one beef, I'm so tired of the going for it on 4th down. If you got Cam Ward or you got some stud back there, whether it's like Georgia tonight with Beck or Milrow or these guys that you have faith that they can. I have zero faith that DJ is going to get a 4th down. Kick the darn ball through the field goal post and get the points. You have the best kicker in college football, or one of them. You don't leave the points on the field anymore. Stop.
Yeah, listen, I wish I could sit here and say, well, it's going to get better next week, but it's absolutely not. I mean, listen, I think Mark, I think he's got to have a hard time holding this locker room together. I think it's going to take all they got to make sure they don't fracture from within. And listen, my concern is it's gotten so bad. Do you have some kids, what we've seen this week, where kids are going ahead and declaring, I'm going to redshirt myself. I've only played in 4 games. I'm going to save my year of eligibility. I'm going to move on in December. Listen, there's a whole lot of things you're going to have to try to deal with as this season goes on, particularly if you drop the 1-5 next week, then go up to Duke 1-5 and on a Friday night game. Nationally, listen, all these Clemson's are going to be a nationally televised night game. Duke, nationally televised night game. Miami will be nationally televised. Who knows? Maybe they'll do us a favor and let us play at noon on the ACC.
Trust me, you don't think Miami wants some payback from 2 years ago?
From the last couple of years,
yeah.
Hey, listen. I did get a little laugh out of this. The longest offensive play was on the punt that they fumbled. It was a 55-yard play from the offense, and they fumbled the punt, and FSU recovered it. So maybe this guy's right. Maybe we just punt on 3rd down.
Make it stop.
But yeah, listen. I really, listen. I think they could have some more efforts on defense, like they did against Cal. But the problem is, listen, guys, they did not bring it against this team. They had no fire. They looked unmotivated. They don't play together. All the things we've talked about. And listen, I feel like I told you this earlier last week, Mark. I feel like I'm stuck in Groundhog Day again. It seems like the first year we did this together, you and I did. We didn't do a YouTube show. We did a podcast every Sunday night. The Willie's last year, and it was absolutely miserable. And I'm not sure that this team is not. I think this team might be worse than Willie's last team. And the thing that's shocking to me is there's more talent on this team than there was this one.
No question.
This is certainly never. I didn't think they were going to compete for the ACC championship anyway. But listen, this team's got better talent than to be what it's looking like right now.
Worst team in the ACC. They're the worst team in the ACC outside of maybe Wake. Yeah.
Well, so we've lost all these teams we've lost to. We can probably say we've had more talent than every one of them, and yet we look terrible. And we're getting ready to run into the part of the schedule where the talent is the same or better. It's. I mean, unless something changes drastically, which in my experience it doesn't happen overnight. I know these problems run way deep. We're in for a rough ride, for sure.
Yeah, Mark, one of the reasons we didn't see some of this is because we don't get to watch them play tackle football at practice, which is totally different than watching a team scrimmage. We don't get a chance to do that.
Well, you're watching bad players play against bad players.
Yeah.
And you see things.
And I agree with Leroy. I don't see the solutions for this team with Mike this year or next. I think he's got to try to build this team for 2026. As far as being back in and competing for the ACC, I don't see it. I don't know
about ACC, but I think they could get to 8 or 9 wins next year if they get the right parts. Listen, I don't know what you don't know what other teams are going to be like. I believe this is college football. From year to year, you're going to have different teams just because of the turnover of the rosters. This is what people wanted. This is what I said. It wasn't sustainable. And everybody's like, oh, we could just, forget about high school recruiting. We could just recruit the portal. We'll just keep winning. We'll keep winning. That's what I've been hearing. And I read it on every message board, the same stuff over and over. All right. Listen, I wasn't right at the beginning, but I'm going to say it now. I was right with this. Thank you.
You are.
Hey, I don't usually get to say it because my wife tells me I'm always wrong. So
occasionally I've told you wrong too. Yeah, this is a mess, man. This is a freaking mess. And
hey, I'm available. I can help clean this mess up.
I cannot believe that I've got to sit down and watch this game again tomorrow morning when I wake up.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. This is the first time I haven't want to rewatch a game, and I watched a lot of Taggart film. I watched the last year of Bobby where that stuff got tough at times. I remember being at that Maryland game. This is worse. I mean, because like you said, those teams, a lot of them at the end, you didn't think there was expectations. This team, you thought, all right. They could rebound, have an 8-9 win season, and build for the future. But now you're like, oh my God, you feel helpless watching this team play.
And then when I hear what some of these kids are making to go out and put this kind of performance together, and you put that together with what this coaching staff is making, and you look at the product they're putting on the field. I mean, listen, it's borderline negligence at this point, guys. I mean, it really is. I mean, for Florida State to be
that's why there's so much resentment. You're right, because some of these kids are making more money than 90% of the people that watch them play, and these coaches are definitely making more money, and this rolls out there. I mean, the resentment is justified as far as that goes, and it's, look, the only way it's going to get better is they got to stop doing things that bad teams do. They got to play more disciplined football. They've got to hold players accountable. They've got to come up with better plans.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Mark, I hate to interrupt you, but I was talking to this one wide receiver coach a year ago, and I said, how do you build build your depth chart? And he goes, Fish, I have a point system. And he goes, it doesn't matter if it's for class. I don't care if the guy drops the ball. And basically, the guys choose the depth chart. I don't have to, because I put these things in place and based on their effort in practice, based on whether they run the right route, whether they get A's in class, and they compete with each other because they're afraid that they're going to lose their job. I don't feel like a lot of these kids feel like they're going to lose their job because they keep making mistakes and they keep starting the following week. No matter how bad they are, it's like, hey, you know what? It's not their fault.
Well, here's what I know. When I get off of here, I'm going to go watch Mike's press conference. And if I hear this team puts in the work and this team does this, then I'm going to pull my hair out because whatever works
I watched.
$10. He says, "I know what this team is. I know what it can be." You'll hear something like that.
I don't know.
We don't see this. It's just like last week at the Monday press conference where he was asked about the interception that DJ threw in the red zone. He called it a bad play, and he didn't address the bad performance. He did not say, "Hey, DJ should have made a better decision." So everybody that saw that play knew DJ made a bad decision. All Mike had to do to appease the fan base was say, "Listen, he can't make that throw." And he didn't have to throw the kid under the bus. That wouldn't have been throwing the kid under the bus. It would have been stating the obvious.
No.
What
happened on that play was he threw it ultra late. If he would have thrown it on time, it would have been okay. He was open when the kid broke. When the kid broke, he was open. But he looked right. He waited. They were in some kind of little robber coverage, and he waited too long. And by the time he looked back, that robber moved over, and that's when he threw the. But he threw it late.
Mark.
That was why it was a bad play. It wasn't necessarily a bad call. It was open if he threw it on time.
Mark.
That was the problem.
I'm
right?
sure.
And so, that's the problem with him is he throws it late or he doesn't throw it at all. If they're not open, he doesn't see it.
Listen, I'm sure he's a nice kid.
He's a great kid,
but and now that he's making a lot of money, this is part of it. He's basically a pro athlete. He's not a good football player. And like I told you before I got on this call, I can't watch him anymore. I'm sorry. I hate to say that about a kid. It's just to watch that, to me, I don't think it's fair to the other guys behind him because basically I honestly, like I said, Brock's put in the time. Again, put in a horrible situation. You bring them in where basically the other team could just tee off on you. You have no running game. And like at least Brock looks like I still.
But it's not. Yeah, but it's not just him. I mean, yeah, he's part of the problem, but he's not the only problem.
I think he's a big problem. Because you know what he's not.
Yeah.
The thing is, Mark, you're either
the whole thing stinks. Just the whole thing.
But is he part of our future? No. So you got to go with the guys that are part of your future and roll with them.
I agree with that.
Brock, and I think it's time you let him and Luke and the other. How about the kid that walked on? You know what? Let those three guys say, "Hey, listen, it's an open competition. One of you guys is going to be the starter next year. Let's go. Let's roll."
So let's play what if. What if Morlock catches that ball, right? In that point in the game, and we roll down there and we scored. And we're in the ball game, and I think the whole thing is different, right?
Yeah.
My point is, it's not just him. You know, if the offensive line would pick up a blitz every now and then, give him a clean pocket. I mean, he was getting hammered every throw. He's getting hammered. Right?
You would not believe the amount of times I wrote pressured down on my sheet.
The kid's getting hammered. I mean, Rockland's going to get hammered too. He won't look much better. I promise you, he won't look much better. I'm not saying he shouldn't be. I'm not disagreeing with you, Fish. I'm not.
I'm not saying he's the answer, but you know what? Is he the quarterback next year? Because if he's not the quarterback next year, Brock, you're telling me then you got to go back in the portal and find somebody else because I don't think Luke's ready. So
again, the reason I want Brock in is because the bridge thing. I was never for the bridge thing. I hate the bridge quarterback situation. Listen, Brock has a little. He's imperfect. He's young, but he has a little juice with him. He's got a little pep in his step, and that's what this offense needs. And listen, we keep on getting these comments, guys. I don't know if you can see him. Luke's going to leave. Brock's going to leave. He's got to start. He's got to give these guys a chance to start getting some reps. You're never going to get a kid ready in 3 scrimmages in the fall and 1 spring showcase. That's 4 times a year you're playing tackle football outside of Saturdays.
I don't disagree with you. My only thing is, my only point is there's so much wrong that you're going to throw Brock in there and he's not going to look much better. He's just not.
Well, listen, I'm going to tell you this. I don't think Brock would have played tonight if DJ didn't hurt his throwing hand towards the end of the game. They were trying to – I don't know if y'all saw on television. They were trying to pop it.
If your answer is for the future is to throw Brock out there and get him hammered every time he drops back to throw the ball, well, yeah, I guess that's what you got to do to get him ready. But honestly, I don't know that it's good for him to go out there and get knocked on his tail every time he drops back to throw the ball.
Yep.
Because that's what's happening. That's what's happening to DJ.
Well, you saw him get lit up a couple times tonight when he got in there.
Yeah.
Against
their second team defensive line.
And you know who missed the block that got him hammered? 63.
Yeah.
On that little screen. 63 quit on the play.
Who's 63? Ferguson? I don't
Byers.
Byers.
Yeah, listen, it's bad, boys. It's bad. Listen, we could sit here all night and beat up on the entire roster and every single coach. And right now, they've kind of earned it. But except for Mastromanno, Heisman for Mastromanno. He's the best kicker.
That's the most amazing punter I've ever seen. That dude's amazing. I mean, when he put it inside the 10, just kind of like a 50-degree sandwich, man. He just popped it out there, and then he knocks that 67-yarder when he got called back. I mean,
ironically.
It looks like
when you have a great punter, it usually means you don't have a very good football team. So,
well, listen, he is this year's. The guy that won the Ray Guy Award last year was a guy from Iowa, right? And they had almost no offense, like Florida State's got no offense. So I'm calling it right now. Alex Mastromanno, Ray Guy Award winner. Ray Guy Award winner. Listen, guys, it's a bad night. It's a bad season, and unfortunately, I think we got some more bad Saturdays coming. But we did want to jump on and talk a little bit about. Let's kind of get our frustration out and let you guys hear it that are listening to us and watching us. And we will be, if you want to go to the Osceola.com, we will have all of the post-game coverage from Dallas. Kurt Weiler is out there for the game. I'm not sure whether Bob went with him or not, but I know we had some issues with travel due to the storm. But listen, hey, let's draw this back into perspective.
Wait a second, Pat. Let's just leave Kurt there. I think he's the problem.
Right.
We'll play it. He's not coming back from Dallas. He can live there now.
He might enter the sports writers transfer portal and go cover a team that can win a game.
Right.
He might ask to get traded to SMU's rival site.
Or ask Jerry for more NIL.
He's going to hold Jerry hostage. Hey, I think I'm going to declare my red shirt. I'm going to let you guys handle these shows for the rest of the season.
Sorry, Jerry, I'm not coming back from Dallas.
If I got to keep watching this stuff, I want more NIL myself.
Oh man!
I should have stayed at Lake Lanier. I really should have stayed at Lake Lanier. This would have been so much more peaceful to walk out to the lake and get on the boat and have a beer here the next 10 minutes. But instead, I'm in Tallahassee, Florida. And I'm glad to be here. I love Tallahassee. I'm glad Tallahassee's still here. But all right, guys. Well, listen, we will be back tomorrow with Second Look Sunday as I will re-watch this game. And we'll probably wish I didn't. And I know that you guys will also. But how about talking? Yeah, Lake Lanier is underwater. You're right. It's got real deep. I was up there during the storm. But yeah, we'll be back with all our post-game coverage at the Osceola.com. We will have obviously Kurt's feature story from the game. Bob will have some follow-up from the game. We'll do Second Look Sunday tomorrow. At least I will. And we'll be back on Monday with another edition of Seminole Sidelines to talk about
Cliff Notes.
Unfortunately, I only know one way, Fish. I take very detailed notes and write something down on every play. But anyway, yeah, so we'll be back tomorrow. A bad day for Florida State and what's turning into a very long season as FSU falls 42-16 to SMU to fall to 1-4 on the year. And unfortunately, has Clemson coming up next Saturday afternoon or night. Doesn't really matter. But we'll be back. We'll be back on Monday with a Monday edition of Seminole Sidelines, and everybody enjoy the rest of the night to the best of your ability. And we will see you on Monday.